when Ireland faced All Blacks in Soldier Field in Chicago, in front of the biggest sporting market in the world, they had one of the golden opportunities to grow the game, to engage new fans, to expand the already big and global audience that rugby has in America, and I feel like messed that opportunity up. What was expected was expanding the game, growing the audience through explosive rugby, through dynamic rugby, through big athletes going at each other, the no pads thing, all of that, only to see what transpired was technical difficulties, the big screen not showing replays, TMOs and referees taking the most time in the world to come to conclusions or to make decisions, having to stop the game and run off the field to see a smaller screen where they could see the replays. Replays weren't played on the big screen. And the first half of rugby, that is 40 minutes, took 52 minutes. So you're in the biggest sport audience market, NBA, NFL, NBL. These fans love high octane collisions, fast running, just explosive athletes. They love all of that. And rugby has that. But then to see how or what happened in this game, especially in that first half, don't get me wrong. When the intensity did pick up in this game, that back end of the game, that last 20, 30 minutes, it was great. But what happened earlier on in the game is definitely not the complete or the package that you want to be sending out to grow the game. And this is not mainly targeted at the players. The players go out there and they play, they do their thing, they've got their tactics on how to beat the opposition. That's what that's going about. I'm more talking on the stop-starts throughout the game, that there wasn't a lot of transparency around replays or what decisions were being made or what the referees were thinking during those decisions. On TV, yes, or as a rugby diehard fan, you know what was going on, what was happening during those times. But as a newbie, as someone that's just coming into the game or just heard about it during the week, and then to see what happened, I mean, the whole build-up in the week was All Blacks and Chicago Bulls, one of the biggest sporting brands in sporting, like just in sport in general, Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan, the dream team, like that's Chicago Bulls. All Blacks collabing with them on social media, players meeting up, All Blacks doing running drills with the Chicago Bulls mascot, all that build up that you could definitely have some audiences or a part of that audience that follow the Chicago Bulls would have seen what's going on here. Who are these guys? What's rugby? Type it in. Okay, that looks pretty cool. They're playing against Ireland. I don't know who Ireland rugby team is. They're playing this weekend. Let's watch the game. If there was a ticket still available, let's maybe buy a ticket. If not, because the game was sold out, so there was 60,000+ people there. The rest were watching the game on TV. And if you're losing your rugby virginity to watch, right? And that was the first half of rugby you ever watched. I think if, let's say, 100 people were losing their virginities on watching rugby for the first time, by halftime, I would be surprised if there was one left still watching. Because of a 40-minute half turned into 52 minutes. There was that many stop-starts. Look, the injury side of the stop-starts, you can't help. But the referees bringing plays back, and I know it's part of I know the rules, they are part of the game. TMO can interject and tell the referee when a foul play has occurred. But as a diehard fan, I know that. But if I was a newbie watching the game, I wouldn't know anything about this. Nothing was explained. The ref couldn't explain himself well for the people watching on the ground or at the ground. The big screens weren't playing TMOs. The refs had to run off the field to then see a smaller screen to then make a decision there. My biggest issue with this is in America, where sport is such a big part of their culture and there's such a big audience that watches sport, that love, just like I've mentioned, the high octane energy, athletes running at each other. They love watching it with pads on. Rugby is marketed with is NFL marketed without pads. guys running head-on collisions, running at each other. But what happened especially that first half of this game, I don't think any new fan, it didn't bring any new fans to the game. And it almost breaks my heart to think that. Because as a diehard fan, how good rugby is, how good it can be. But then you see how when all the laws are applied and when TMOs interject and when refs take their time to make decisions, and I get they have to take their time to make the right or the correct decision, but somewhere something needs to change there, because how does a first half that usually takes 40 minutes end up taking 52 minutes to finish? You're telling me like the technical difficulties with not being able to show the replays on the big screen for everyone to see, the refs included, they didn't run a warm up before. They didn't do a sound check before then. You know what I'm getting to? Like, you go into one of the biggest sporting markets in the world. You're taking your product there. You're showing your product. It's like a Shark Tank. This past weekend, All Blacks versus Ireland in Chicago, in America, one of the biggest sporting audiences in the world. This was their Shark Tank idea there. Yes, we've played games in America before, and some people know about it, but a lot of people don't. And it was marketed really well leading up to it, but then the pitch was just not it, especially that first half. Not it. As new rugby fans coming to watch, that was your first experience of rugby, you're not coming back, especially that first half with how long it took, the TMO decisions, the ref decisions, the stop starts, all of that. This is not a shot on the players. This is a shot on maybe the laws and maybe some of the TMOs. Maybe the TMO and the referees need a shot clock. If the kickers need a shot clock, if a scrum needs a shot clock, why can't the referees and the TMOs have a shot clock? Because you can't add an extra 12 minutes to a first half. First half is 40 minutes. It went on for 52 minutes, this first half. I don't know what needs to happen. I just thought that's something to talk about. That rugby took its product to one of the biggest sporting audiences in the world, and the product that was put out, if you were a losing your virginity on rugby viewer watching that game, you would not. I'm surprised if you made it to 40 minutes, because that just wasn't it. What do you guys think? Jump in on the discussion. What do you guys, am I rambling? Am I talking absolute hogwash? Think of it as a rugby newbie coming to the game for your first time ever. What would your thoughts have been on that first half? Especially that first half. That's what gets people engaged, is those first 20, 30 minutes. That's what keeps you involved in it. You look at NBA, NFL, all of those guys have got, yes, well, NBA or NFL can go for 4 hours. They stop, start, but there's a ton of energy, entertainment in between. There's music, there's crowds there's loudspeakers interacting with the people, there's cheerleaders, there's all kinds of different things. There's halftime, it's throwing the hoop in NBL, there's all kinds of different interactions, player engagement with the crowd. And rugby there just wasn't that. There wasn't that, especially in that audience, this game that passed, this All Blacks and Irish game. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on it. Am I rambling or am I onto something here? Let me know in the comments. Hit that subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you next time. Bye.